All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for sticking around till 2 o'clock on the last day. My name is Brandon Mount. I'm a product specialist at Accusoft, and I'm going to introduce Michael Pardue and John Armenia. They're going to show you our APIs, and John's going to actually give you some insight into our development methodologies, our DevOps, and our continuous deployment model. Before I do that, the API that Michael's going to show you is an HTML5 document viewer. We have other components in our API, but I want to, I want to set the stage and make the case for an HTML5 document viewer. So first a little bit about us. We're providing software development tools to programmers for 25 years now. This is our 25th year. Our toolkits are used in companies like Boeing and Xerox and ACS and EMC and Diebold and Bechtel. And they're used for things like scanning and capturing and conversion and compression. And about 5 years ago, our CEO decided to switch and pivot a little bit to providing more of a solution. And that one component of that solution is our HTML5 document viewer, which is called PrismDoc, and it's one of the APIs available to us that Michael's going to show you today. So the case for this document viewer is to secure your content and deliver it speedily onto any device. So if you're on a mobile device, a laptop, a desktop, HTML5 viewers only require a browser, and they're a lot more secure than allowing someone to download that native file from your repository, whether that's a CMS. Throughout the lifecycle, that document will touch a lot of people's hands. So you as developers, your responsibility is to secure that document. And letting someone download it and then pass it back up into your system, potentially carrying malware, which could be ransomware or some kind of virus that'll shut down your systems, is not good practice. So if you're sharing content regularly, an HTML5 document viewer is a good way to go. And recently, people have been saying that there have been attacks like this. There's reports pretty much daily that banks and financial institutions are being attacked through this method of inserting some kind of virus into a file. So on top of that risk of security, when your viewing is just done by the client, it's their responsibility to have a native viewer. You don't control the encryption. It's less than optimal. You don't have a view to what layer of encryption, what kind of security is there. They're able to edit, copy, print, and download. And once that document's in the wild, it's gone. You don't know how the content is being used. You don't know if the material is being repurposed or diluted or even sabotaged and shared to negative effect to your organization or to your client. So an HTML5 viewer, integrated and implemented properly, lets you capture all the events that happen in the wild. So you're viewing a Word doc or a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint or a CAD file or a TIFF. An HTML5 document viewer, done correctly, allows you to capture all the events that happen in the viewer. So if someone's printing or scrolling or searching or selecting text or mousing over something or clicking on it, those are all JavaScript events. They can be fired back to you, and you can use that to enhance the user experience through returning documents through search or otherwise, or just knowing how the document was used so you can focus your message or get rid of that content altogether if nobody read it. So without further ado, thank you for letting me have that couple minutes to pitch the product. Let me pass this over to Michael, who's going to show us just a piece of the API that's available to you from Accusoft.
All right, so they asked me to create a web page, and as I'm an engineer, this is about as good as I can do for design. It's all right. All right, so what Brandon was alluding to was basically we have to rely on the native experience when we're presenting documents to our users. So if we want to open a PDF in Chrome, we have to open the plugin and load it, and it does its thing. If we want to open a document or a spreadsheet, we actually have to download it. So now it's completely out of our control. So if we want also to just basically share a little picture of a kitten. So what we need to do is load the HTML5 viewer. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. All right, and the first thing that we need is to get the ACS API key, which is on our Accusoft Services portal. It's really easy to get this. You go to the Accusoft Services portal, and you create an account, and immediately you have your key. So we'll get this and put it into the configuration file. I'm going to put it into the web server. So this is just a Node.js website running Express. It's very simple. There's not a whole lot going on here, and it's just to facilitate access to the documents that are on your hard drives. All right, so I have the key, and I'm going to load it. All right. Wait for the network to do its thing with the client scripts. All right, there we go. And there it is in the HTML5 viewer. So if we want to look at a Word document, same thing in the HTML5 viewer. So it's completely within our control. And if we want to load the Excel spreadsheet, again, in the HTML5 viewer. So how do we get that started? So the first step is we have to create a viewing session. So what is a viewing session? A viewing session is basically just our workspace on our Prism Doc servers that is where we generate all the files. And this includes SVG files, font files that we're creating totally custom. And to do that, we just make a simple HTTPS request via post to our viewing session API. And we inject the key that I just put into the configuration JSON. And so that'll get returned, and we get a viewing session ID. And then we put the document that we just pulled. So we create a read stream, we pipe it into the put request, and we put to the viewing session. And so we do this asynchronously, and we let it continue without any blocking on the client scripts, so that we can go ahead and get the client scripts to load while the viewing session is creating all the assets. All right, so the viewing session gets returned, and then we'll return that back to the browser. All right, so the next thing is we have to create a proxy. Now, I mean, this sounds a little bit complicated, but that's okay. All we have to do is basically just pass all the requests that are coming from the Prism Doc client back to the API for a Prism Doc server. And the reason why we do this is we want to make sure that all the requests are totally hidden from the client, and also so that we can inject the key without worrying about the key being stolen by our clients. All right, so the next thing is we have to get all the assets for the viewer. Now, normally we would get this from our GitHub repository or from the installer, but I've already gone ahead and downloaded everything. So this includes CSS files, JavaScript files, and templates. And the HTML templates are basically just underscore templates, so they're super easy to modify and change. All right, so last we have to get the templates out to the viewer client. And to do so, I'll use Gulp, Browserify, and Scriptify. And so we basically just put all these in here. And all right, so last we add a viewer container. And this is basically just a place so that we can have a div HTML element to put the client in. And so then we can generate the viewer from that. Okay, so we tell Express about it, and then make sure that I didn't break anything. We load it, and it's okay. Now I talked about customization with the templates, so I'm going to go here to the viewer template. Actually, let me show you this. All right, so here's the download button, and I'm going to remove it. And so just a little bit of editing to the template. And then we build the JavaScript files. Okay. And we reload the page, and the download button is totally removed. All right, so that's just a small taste of the Prism Doc viewer, and I'm going to hand it off to John now. John asked that I say something awesome about him, but here's John.
Thanks, Michael. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Accusoft services development team and technologies that we use today. The team is a dedicated team of engineers that are dedicated to building our applications in the cloud. That's important to customers because they want to know that they're integrating with these APIs and make sure that they're supported by a full development team, not somebody that's just doing this part-time on a Friday afternoon as their 20%. The team's using modern development tools such as Node.js, Mocha, and Chai, and they're constantly looking for ways to improve our build processes and our deployment processes. We use custom applications such as the configurator, which we use to actually configure the browser before deployment, the deployinator, which actually deploys our microservices to AWS. We have a health serviceinator, which actually monitors the health service of the various instances. And of course, we have a terminator, which terminates any unhealthy instances. One of the more recent projects we started working on was a new performance testing tool which takes advantage of AWS Lambda functions and actually allows us to send tens of thousands of concurrent requests against our application and make sure it's performing as it should. In addition to our custom development tools, we've built several custom quality tools. We have a product we called Surge, which is based off of Yada and Selenium with some highly customized applications. That's our automated acceptance testing program. Every time we push a build, Surge runs and verifies the application is performing properly. We also have a tool called Fusebox, which is our gatekeeping tool for our continuous delivery system. It ensures that only builds that pass our code quality, automated acceptance tests, and our unit tests actually can get to deployment. We've done all this because we want to get code and our bug fixes to our customers as fast as possible. It doesn't do anybody any good to have a bug fix or a new feature sitting on main for 6 months, waiting for that magic release day. By following the continuous delivery methodology, we can actually ensure we're getting our customers what they need as fast as possible. Talking a little bit about our architecture, Accusoft Services is built on a microservices architecture. For those of you who aren't familiar with microservices, it's the concept of breaking a monolithic application down into small components that then communicate over some type of API. In our case, we use REST, but it could be any communication protocol. There's several advantages to using a microservices architecture. First of all, it improves fault isolation. If we're having an issue with our compression service and you're using our viewing services, your application will not be affected. With a monolithic application, it's very likely the entire application goes down. It also eliminates any reliance on a specific technology stack. Most of our services are written in Node.js right now, but if tomorrow we need to implement a C++ service for better performance or Go because it's the language to use, we can do that. Finally, it makes it easier for new developers to onboard. We are constantly growing at Accusoft, and it's a lot easier to onboard a new developer into a 5,000-line microservice than a 10 million-line monolithic application. Our hosting platform is AWS. The output of our build is a single Docker container with a single microservice. We then deploy that container to multiple availability zones in several AWS regions. We just deployed to the European region just recently, so we can now comply with their data privacy acts. And we've done all this because you're building an application and you need a reliable, powerful backend that will scale with you as necessary. We're using the AWS CloudWatch and the various scaling options they give us. As the load increases on our servers, we bring up new instances, and your application never suffers in performance. We also have 24/7 monitoring, both automated and manual, so if there is a problem, we always know about it. This is just a small piece of what we do at Accusoft. We've got tons of microservices. If you're interested in talking to us about our tools, our technology, or any of our development processes, please feel free to stop by the booth, and thank you for your time.